1015 The Hawk FM.
You're listening to Center Stage, a celebration of musicals from both the stage and screen. I'm your host, Lyla Miklos, and we have lots of guests on the show. We just heard the title song, Guys and Dolls, from the musical Guys and Dolls. I'm going to be having a review of that show later on. But first, my first guest in studio with me right now is Dre Pao, and he has a brand new album. Well, I guess I shouldn't say album, single. And I'm going to get him to talk about it first, and then we'll play that single a little later in the show. But Dre and I got to know each other because he used to be a co-host for a podcast called What Are You Saying? And I was one of his guests. So I'm paying it forward and having him as a guest on my show now.
No, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to you taking the role of interviewer. It's nice to switch.
So I was checking out your website and reading all about you and everything.
Cool.
Why now? What was coming? How were the stars aligning that said, now I'm going to go do this and do the tour? He's got cameras rolling, filming this all. I'm not intimidated by that at all. Hi, camera. Why now?
I think it's what you said, the stars aligning sort of thing. Like I've just been saying, it's like when you're in a relationship and you're like, how do you know you love someone? And for me, it's just, you have that feeling that you just know. And I was really enjoying doing the cover thing, but there was something that said, I've been doing songwriting for a good amount of time now, and it's time to, do the artist thing, because that's what I want deep inside.
So are you saying you are finally in love with music?
We're getting married.
Now, I watched your video, which was loads of fun.
Thank you.
Who was all behind that? Because it looked like you were in a studio, you're in somebody's backyard. That looked like it was fun to shoot.
Yeah, you know what? I'm blessed to have a really great team that's been working with me. I did the video with a company called One New Era. Figs Adventure is the videographer who actually did the production and the filming. The girl in the video is Simona Gabriel. She's a great artist from Hamilton. And yeah, we shot some of it in Burlington, some of it in Hamilton, some in Ancaster, and some at Jukasa Studios in Caledonia. So
that studio looked amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was great.
So you're saying the stars are aligning, but for you, when did you figure out music is my thing? I like singing. Like when did that sort of come to you that you're like, this is what I need to be doing with my creative energy?
Well, I was in second year university. I went to McMaster for poli-sci, and I still had 1 year left to complete my degree, which I did.
Okay.
But in that second year is when I met an artist, a Spanish artist. His name's Chuso Jones, and that was the first time that someone, somewhat credible, it's different when your mother or your sister's like, you're fantastic. And I'm like,
yeah, right, sure, whatever you say, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was the first time that someone who's in the music business was like, hey, man, you're pretty good. And that kind of, ignited that spark in me that's like, okay, maybe I don't have to go this exact route that I've been told to do, because I think a lot of students struggle with that. There's this vision that their parents have for them of what they should be. And it was, it was hard to tell my parents, like, hey, you thought I was going to be a lawyer for like 25 years, but now we're changing. But you need to do that. You need to go with what feels right inside, and that's what I did.
Do you think some of your poli-sci will end up in your lyrics and songs?
I think so. I think, I try not to be political whatsoever. I can't say that that's going to be like that forever.
I want the poli-sci dance mix now.
But you know what? The poli-sci was super helpful with, just writing style. And the way, even in interviews and stuff, it's sometimes you get asked some pretty hard things that you got to know how to speak in order to deliver properly. So
now, you said you don't want your music to be political.
Well, I like to do the Beatles thing where, the Beatles were very political, and sometimes they went, super aggressive, but a lot of their stuff had messages that were really subliminal, and they let the people decide what was what sort of thing. And
so you'll let your audience take from it what they will take from it. Yeah,
exactly. Because I think that's what the best is about art, is it's so subjective. Mm-hmm. And I would say that there's somewhat of a political message in this song. I really am really big on your mind is very influential on the way that things unfold in your life. So, I mean, if you look at the song for like with the video and everything, you're like, wow, this is all about a relationship. And it partially is, but there's that aspect of like, mindset, and your mind shapes everything. I really believe that.
So we're going to play your song. Do you want to set it up for our listeners? What the song's about? What it's called? Give it a little frame before we play it.
Yeah, sure. The song is called WithoutChya, and it's just about, empowering yourself and really recognizing in relationships that it's important for you to love yourself as well as love the other person. So it's inspired by a Latin feel, and that's
Okay.
WithoutChya, featuring Illvibe.
You're listening to 101.5 The Hawk. I'm your host, Lyla Miklos, and this is Center Stage. And now we're going to hear WithoutChya with Dre Pao and Illvibe.
Yes.
All right.
I'm talking to you.
We're CIOI FM, broadcasting from Hamilton at 101.5 megahertz. Just call us The Hawk.
Dre Pao is here in studio with us, and we just listened to his brand new single. And we were talking about, while we were listening to it, rebranding yourself, because people knew you as this podcast journalist guy, and now you're becoming this recording artist. And what has that transition been like for you?
Well, it's interesting because so many people, everyone loves to label you. They're like, well, what do we call you? Mm-hmm. And I did, I built my audience doing YouTube covers in Spanish and English. And then I started doing interviews in Hamilton, interviewing people like, Arkells and Monster Truck. And then I was like, how do I, rebrand myself? And for me, it's like, I'm just a songwriter. That's what is my main love. But for me, it was just, people really want to make labels, and I wanted to get away from that. I'm just an artist who cares about other people. That's why I do journalism stuff,
Now, where are you hoping to go with your single from here? Like, are you hoping to have an album? You're going to go on tour? What's the future goal for you?
Oh, well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, an EP is definitely in the works.
Okay.
This is the very beginning of it. There's also some shows we're planning. I'm actually going to make an announcement on Tuesday for stuff that's coming up.
Okay.
But just what I'm really surprised and overwhelmed at how quickly people really have taken to this song. So for me, I'm just happy that people are listening, and I'm trying to take one day at a time.
Okay. Now, how did you connect with Illvibe on this particular recording?
Well, I connected with Illvibe. Actually, he was a guest on the What Do You Saying podcast.
Ah, all right.
And, I saw him a lot. He's very active on social media, and I'm obsessed with social media. My face is always in my phone. So I saw what he was doing, and I was like, I think we could do something great. I really like his mindset. I think he's a really talented person. So I think those two mixtures mixed with what I was trying to do with the song went really well.
Nice. And are there some other artists that you're hoping to collaborate soon with? Or things cooking? Or is it all like, shh, you can't tell me that?
I would definitely, without giving away too much, there will definitely be another feature on my song. I'm big on collaboration. I think at this point in the game, like sharing eyes and mixing different sounds, especially like I'm trying to, with these first songs, I'm trying to capture Canada and the sound of Canada. And Canada is such a mixture of different cultures and different sounds. So I think for me to write a Canadian song, I need to get these other sounds and these other people involved. So
now, who are some of your musical heroes and influences?
Wow, that's a loaded question because it's very eclectic, to be honest.
Okay.
I grew up very influenced by the Beatles and Oasis. Oasis was probably one of the things that made me first go, okay, wow, like I want to do that.
Okay.
Because after I saw them live when I was like 10. But then getting connected with an artist in Spain and spending so much time in Spain, that Latin influence just makes you feel so good. And it always, being in Canada where it's so cold, it always brought me back to summer. So I really cling to that when it was those cold winter months. So I like Enrique Iglesias too. He's a big influence, and guys like Nicky Jam. So yeah, it's a good combination of different music. That's what I've really tried to bring to this single.
And you talked about your family earlier, and that your mom thought you could sing. Did you have a family that was musical?
You know what? I come from a very sports family. Actually, I'm the only one in the family who does music or arts related things. So
so there was no whipping out the guitars and having sing-alongs.
No, the first time I brought out. No, that doesn't happen. You know,
No?
like in my immediate family with like, you know, my mom, my dad, and my sister, that happens once in a while. But it was very foreign to them to even see that that's a realistic career choice. And there's still some people I'm trying to convince, but for the most part, it seems to be working out.
So if you were in this home that was very sports and not very arts oriented, how did you find your groove?
First, I sucked at sports, so then I was like, okay, there's got to be something else. But yeah, honestly, the first thing that made me want to pick up a guitar is I had a friend who played the guitar, and I was like, oh, I want to try that, you know. And I was super young, and then seeing Liam Gallagher on stage at 10 years old, I was like, wow.
Oh, you saw him at 10.
Yeah, it was. If you know Oasis at 10 years old, it's super like very extravagant show they would put on.
Ah. But since you have found your groove and now you're doing your thing, family is supportive?
Yeah, well, the immediate family is really, really super supportive, and I think people are slowly starting to catch on. But as you know, with anything arts related, it's really hard to convince people that it's a sustainable life choice.
Oh, I know, because people just refer it to as your hobby. Oh, there's that singing thing that you do.
Yeah. And people always
Are you going to get a real job? Right, yeah. I've heard it.
And people say like, well, it's great that you're following your dream. And it's like, that's a cool thing to say. But at the same time, like, I wish it was just like, oh, that's a great career choice you've taken, because it doesn't have to be looked at that way. I want people to know it's a realistic thing, especially like people in high school and young kids. Like, you don't have to do, the typical thing. If you're gifted at something arts related, like, do it, take a chance, like, take a risk.
Well, and I think it just speaks to that sort of bigger, more meta question about how people don't value the arts the same way that they value other things. Because I guess for some people, it's not like a concrete thing, like I built a building or something like that, right? Or I did your taxes.
Yeah.
So it's not valued in the same kind of way that those sort of things get valued.
But I think it's also like a social, like it's very created by society, that mindset too, like, the whole starving artist thing. Like, people have called me starving artist, and I'm like, I'm full, I have a lot of food, like, I'm good, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like looking at it that way, because I think it puts people down, and it makes people not like, who are looking for a new career choice, to like maybe not try it, like, where it's too much fear driven stuff. And I was like, get away from that.
Oh, good attitude. As we're talking about, recreating yourself, and you've done the journalism thing, you've done the poli-sci thing, you've had your finger in a lot of different pies. Yeah. Is there something you haven't done yet that you're like, oh, I haven't tried that yet, and I kind of wanna?
Well, I've always, I mean, it's art related. When I was younger, I always liked painting and that sort of stuff. And it would be really great for that debut album to maybe make that myself and like make it a first official piece of art. I had a really great artist, her name's Kara Zuccato, make my single art, and it's super incredible. But in the future, it would be, I like giving someone a full expression of me, and that would require, I think, to get involved in, actually making the single art or the album art as well. So nice.
And I am wearing the T-shirt with the art on it. So
you'll see it in the video version of this interview.
I am wearing it, so there you are. And it is very nice. And my other guests were like, oh, I want to go hang out on the beach right now and party. See, so it's sending out the right message for the song.
Excellent.
So we've talked about your hopes and dreams and things that you want to do, and what you're hoping people. What are you hoping the audience that listens to your song is getting out of it?
I just hope they feel something. I think I just hope that they connect to it and they feel like they see themselves in the song. I don't have a particular, wow, once they finish listening to the song, they're going to do this. You know what I mean? Whether even if people think that it sucks, people hate it, that's cool to me. If you're listening to it, that's really awesome to me.
Just no mass CD burnings or anything like that.
Hey, if you want to buy it, that'd be phenomenal. But you know what? If that's the way you do things, if you're listening to it, that's cool. That's cool.
Well, I wish you the greatest of success with this. This has been a fun experience to finally do the other side of the mic now.
Yes.
Although you're a very easy interview, not to worry at all. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with our Center Stage listeners?
You can check out my website at drepaomusic.com. That's where you will find everything, all the updates, And yeah, just love each other. Be good.
Okay. Be good and love, folks. You heard it from Dre Pao here on 101.5 The Hawk.
Hamilton, 101.5 The Hawk.